and welcome to another episode of the Marco Podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode. So this week I want to talk to you about the KonMari Organizing Method. And so a few weeks ago I talked to you all about the Clutterbug Organizing Method. And then I just also wanted to share this method with you all as well and give you my thoughts on it and what I think about it. So this method comes from the tidying expert Marie Kondo, and Marie began her tidying business at the age of 19 while she was still in college, and this is according to her website. And so about the method, and again, this is according to her website, the KonMari method is a simple but effective tidying method ensuring you will never again relapse to clutter. So this method is about keeping only the things that spark joy in your life and getting rid of the rest. And it also teaches you to organize by category and not by location. And so what they mean by this is instead of starting with your living room and then going to the kitchen or vice versa, or just picking a random room in your house or a random thing in your house to start organizing, the KonMari method wants you to start with your clothes, then go on to books and papers and keep going down the line that way. And visualizing is a really big part of this method. It's basically the whole basis of the method from my understanding and from my interpretation of it. And it's about following a certain order when it comes to decluttering. But as we learned before, not everyone organizes or declutters the same. And another aspect of her method is just pulling everything out at once and organizing it like that. And we all know how I feel about just pulling everything out at one time and trying to get it organized. So I want to start with the joy aspect of it. And I'm just honestly really not sure how I feel about it, because what sparks joy to me, it depends on my mood. So if I'm trying to declutter and get my closet organized, and I just ate a pint of ice cream or I just ate some cake, and I go and I look at my favorite top, well, at that moment, it may not spark joy with me because I'm like, I just ate all that ice cream and I just ate that cake, and I don't know how I'm going to feel afterwards. I don't think I'm going to look good in this top anymore. But that's right then in the moment. Typically, it usually does bring me joy. Again, it depends on your mood. And so that doesn't mean that I should get rid of it because at that moment I'm not really feeling it. But according to her method, if it doesn't bring you joy, then you should remove it. But I just really think that you should take like your mood into consideration and the mindset that you're in at that time. And so then also with me, I'm a very sentimental person, and a lot of things spark joy with me. But that doesn't mean that I should keep everything, because then I would never declutter anything. So I think the whole, if it sparks joy for you, then you should keep it method, I feel like there's too many loopholes with that. And again, this is just my personal opinion on the method and just me thinking about it and looking at it from my point of view. Like, if I were to keep everything that sparked joy with me, I would literally never get rid of anything. But you have to get rid of something. So it's kind of like, okay, where do you draw the line at with it? Like, is it how much joy? Are we doing this on a scale of 1 to 10? I mean, where do you draw the line at with it? So I don't necessarily agree with the whole, if it sparks joy with you. And then the whole also organizing by certain categories. Like, when I'm organizing and decluttering, clothes are usually my last thought. Like, that's not the first place that I go to start decluttering, because when I think of decluttering, I think of like the junk drawer or the papers. Typically when I start, like, my thought process, and I've probably shared this with you all before, my thought process is like this: when I start organizing, it's usually because I'm going to get something and I can't find it, or I open a drawer and it's stuffed to the rim, or I'm going to put up dishes and I see that our Tupperware has just gotten all askew, or I'm going to get a pen and I can't find my pen, something like that. And that's usually what sparks me to be like, okay, it's time to organize. Okay, it's time to declutter. So I'm not starting with my clothes because that's not what's in my line of vision right then. That's not what I'm seeing. And so I'm going to organize or start decluttering whatever is visually in front of me at that moment. Now, does everything in the fridge bring me joy? Absolutely not. But that also doesn't mean that it needs to be thrown out, because I'm probably going to need it for some random recipe that I want to try, or I'm going to need it for something else. Did I pull everything out of the fridge and start organizing it and getting rid of stuff like that? Also, heck no, because everything would probably still be sitting on the counter because I would have got fed up with it. What I did was I just started rearranging. And as I was rearranging stuff, I started throwing out things that had expired, or things that there wasn't enough in it to use for anything else. Or I also threw out like some chocolate pudding that my son just swore up and down that he just loves chocolate pudding so much. It's his favorite snack. And then he never ate the chocolate pudding. So stuff like that, I threw that stuff out and I decluttered the fridge. But was it in my intention that day? Did I set out that day? I did not set out saying that I'm going to declutter the fridge or I'm going to organize the fridge. That day I set out and said, I'm going to go grocery shopping and I'm going to put up these groceries, make some breakfast, and get ready to watch the game or brunch, whatever you want to call it, and watch the game. But it was in front of me. It needed to be organized. So I did it. Now, that same day, however, I will say that I did use the What Sparks Joy method with my son. And so I finally tackled the playroom. And if you've been listening from the beginning, then you know how I feel about that playroom, and that I just try not to go in there. And I'm just trying to eliminate the playroom altogether. But baby steps here, we'll get there at some point in time. But I told him first, I was like, hey, go upstairs, start getting rid of like some toys and stuff that you no longer want or that you don't play with anymore. And I came upstairs and he had like 4 things in his in the hallway. He's like, I don't know what to get rid of. I was like, okay, whatever. So he ran off to go do something. And while he was off doing whatever it was that he was doing, I started going through some of the stuff that I know that he hasn't touched in a while or that he hasn't played with. Like, granted, he did play with some stuff the day before, but that was because his cousins were here. Other than that, he hadn't touched some of that stuff in months. Like, pieces were all over the place. So I made a big pile of stuff and I started putting it over in the corner. And then after I did that, I called him back upstairs and I just started holding up stuff for him. And I'm like, okay, do you want to keep this? Do you want to keep that? What do you think about this? And he would tell me yay or nay if he wanted to keep it or not. But I did tell him to make sure and to take a moment to think about it, because I didn't want him to give away something that he was actually going to be looking for, because he's done that before. He's given away something. Then he's like, oh, I didn't mean to give that away. So I told him to double check. But we used the What Sparks Joy method there. So some situations, I mean, it could work. It took us all of about 30, maybe 40 minutes to do that. And now we can actually see the floor. Now I just need to figure out what to do with all these toys that we are getting rid of. Yay. But decluttering and organizing, it's already such a hard task for so many people. And it can be so stressful for so many people. And then if you have to add in taking out everything out of your closet, everything out of your pantry, and then picking up each object and holding it for a significant amount of time to determine how you feel about it, that's not only adding extra stress to you, but it's also adding extra time, because now you got to look at the object, then you got to clean everything back up. So I just think it seems like it adds more extra time. So Marie does explain the purpose of why you should start with the clothes. And so according to her website, it says that clothes are relatively easy. And by starting with them, you'll hone in on your decision-making skills, which will make it easier to decide what to keep as you go from category to category. And the website also says that completing the clothes category is visual proof of your efforts, and it can give you motivation to keep going. Again, I disagree, but it's my personal preference, because what motivates me to declutter and to organize may not be the same thing that motivates you. And that's perfectly fine. Like, some people may have listened to the Clutterbug episode and they're just like, oh yeah, I don't like that. Some people may be listening to this episode and they're like, hey, that's a good idea. I want to try organizing like that. And if you do, go for it. Do what makes you happy. I'm just here to give you different views and different organizing skills and tips and my thoughts on them. I will say this, and I've said it before, and I just honestly cannot stress this enough. Like, no matter what your organizing style is or how you decide to organize and declutter, please, please, please do not pull everything out at once. Like, just don't do it. You will get overwhelmed and you'll get unmotivated, and then you'll end up taking a nap or going to eat some snacks and watching TV. And then when you come back, you have a mountain of clothes or a stack of papers that you still have to go through, that you have to look through. And then you're just going to hate organizing and decluttering all over again. Like, as much as I love organizing, there have been times when I've started organizing, I'm like, whew, this was a lot more than what I thought it was going to be. Okay, let me take a break and let me step back from this, or let me just finish this one shelf in the pantry, or let me just finish reorganizing under my bathroom sink, and then I'm going to be done. Now, imagine if I had just been like, okay, today I'm tackling the bathroom, and pulled out everything in the bathroom, all the stuff in the linen closet and under the sinks to try to organize it. And then halfway through it, I'm like, oh, I'm tired. That stuff is still in the middle of the floor. I'm not knocking this method at all. If it resonates you, go for it. You don't know what you like until you try it. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe one day you'll come up with your own organizing method that I can talk about on the show and that I can share on the show and give my thoughts on it. So, let me know what you all think about this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed learning about a new type of organizing method. I will link her website in the show notes so that you can go and take a look at it yourself. She also has some workbooks and some different worksheets that you can take a look at and see if that resonates with you and if it's something that you want to try or not. All right, bye.
Thank you for listening. Please make sure to follow and rate the podcast whenever you listen.